Maya Carter sat at the edge of her bed, her swollen feet aching after another long double shift at the diner. The faint hum of traffic seeped through the thin walls of her small apartment, but she barely noticed. Her mind was elsewhere, on the child growing inside her and the crushing weight of bills piled on the kitchen counter. She was 7 months pregnant, alone, and terrified. Her child's father had disappeared the moment he learned she was expecting. Friends had offered sympathy, but sympathy didn't pay rent, didn't buy baby formula, and certainly didn't cover hospital bills. Tears blurred her vision as she grabbed her phone, typing quickly to her best friend, Hannah. "I don't know how I'll pay for this baby's birth. I just wish someone would help me. Sometimes I think I'll collapse from the stress. I'm so scared, Hannah." She hit send and dropped the phone on the mattress. Exhaustion tugged at her, and soon, she drifted off to sleep. But the message hadn't gone to Hannah. It had gone to Adrian Blackwood, her boss, the CEO of Blackwood Enterprises. Adrian was reviewing contracts in his penthouse office when the notification buzzed. His brows knitted together when he read the message. At first, his instinct was suspicion. Spam, maybe, but the name, Maya Carter, was familiar. She was one of his assistants, quiet, diligent, always blending into the background. He vaguely remembered her as the girl who never spoke up in meetings, who rushed out after work to catch the bus. He reread the words, the desperation, the fear. For reasons he couldn't explain, Adrian didn't delete the message. He placed his phone face down on the desk, but the words echoed in his mind. "I don't know how I'll pay, I'm so scared." He had built an empire out of steel and glass, numbers and power. He didn't do emotions, yet something about that trembling message unsettled him. Hours passed. It was nearly dawn when Adrian's phone rang again. This time, it was a hospital number. "Mr. Blackwood." A nurse's voice came through, hurried and anxious. "You're listed as the emergency contact for Ms. Maya Carter. She's in labor, earlier than expected. She asked for you." Adrian froze. Emergency contact. He hadn't put his name down. He barely knew her, but the plea in the nurse's tone, combined with the memory of that text, made his decision. "I'll be there in 10 minutes, he said, already grabbing his coat. The sterile scent of disinfectant hit him as he entered the maternity ward. Nurses rushed back and forth, and he spotted Maya on a gurney, pale, clutching her belly, sweat clinging to her forehead. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Why you came?" Adrian's chest tightened. She looked so small, so fragile in that moment. "Of course," he said, though he didn't know why. "You're not alone." A doctor gestured him aside. "She's in premature labor. It'll be risky, but we're doing everything we can. She needs someone here." Adrian glanced back at Maya, who whimpered softly, trying to be brave. Something inside him cracked. He wasn't family. He wasn't her partner. But right now, he was all she had. He stepped to her side, taking her trembling hand. "Breathe, Maya, I'm here. Focus on me." She blinked up at him, tears spilling down her cheeks. Why would you come?" Adrian's jaw clenched. He had no answer, only the strange certainty that leaving her wasn't an option. The hours blurred. Her screams echoed in his ears, her grip nearly crushing his hand, but Adrian never left her side. He wiped her brow, murmured encouragement, and shielded her when fear threatened to overwhelm her. Finally, the cry of a newborn broke through the tension. A tiny wail that made Adrian's chest seize. The doctor placed the infant in Maya's arms. She sobbed, her tears falling onto the baby's wrinkled skin. For a moment, she looked like a woman transformed, not the exhausted waitress drowning in bills, but a mother glowing with love. Adrian stood frozen. Something tugged at him, something primal and unfamiliar. When the nurse gently lifted the baby and offered him to Adrian, he hesitated. CEOs didn't hold babies. He had signed million-dollar deals, negotiated hostile takeovers, but nothing in his life had prepared him for the weight of that small, warm bundle. The baby's tiny hand curled around his finger, and Adrian's heart gave a painful lurch. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Maya whispered hoarsely, watching him. Adrian swallowed hard. "She's perfect." Hours later, Maya lay in her hospital bed, exhausted but awake. Adrian sat beside her, the baby cradled in his arms. You didn't have to come, she murmured. I didn't even mean to text you. It was a mistake. Adrian looked at her, his usual steel-gray eyes softer than she'd ever seen. Maybe not a mistake, he said quietly. Maybe fate. She let out a weak laugh. Fate, you're my boss. You live in a world of boardrooms and skyscrapers. And me, I'm just me. Adrian shook his head. You're not just anything, Maya. You're stronger than most people I know. You carried all of this on your own. Her lips trembled. No one had ever said that to her before. For the first time, Maya saw Adrian not as the cold, distant CEO, but as a man. One who had dropped everything to be here, who had held her hand when she thought she'd break, who now looked down at her baby as if she were something sacred. Days later, when Maya was discharged, Adrian insisted on driving her home. She protested, but he silenced her with a look that brooked no argument. At her tiny apartment, he carried the baby's car seat inside, his sharp suit strangely out of place in the shabby room. He noticed the cracked walls, the worn couch, the stack of overdue bills. Maya flushed with embarrassment. I know it's not much. Adrian cut her off gently. You deserve better. She looked at him, startled. Why do you care? He paused, then said softly, because I don't want to walk away from this. From you. From her. Maya's breath caught. You mean that? Adrian stepped closer, his gaze steady. The night you texted me, I thought it was an accident. But I think it was the universe's way of shaking me awake. I've spent my life chasing power, wealth, success. And yet, the most important call I ever got was from the hospital, about you and your baby. Maya's eyes filled with tears. She had never expected help. Never expected kindness. And certainly never expected the cold-hearted CEO to be the one holding her child as if she were his own. For the first time in months, she felt hope. That night, after Adrian left, Maya sat rocking her newborn by the window. She thought of the strange chain of events. A mistaken text, a rushed drive to the hospital, and a CEO who had stayed by her side. Her life was still uncertain, the future still unknown. But as her baby curled against her chest, she whispered a silent promise. No matter what happens, you'll never be alone. And maybe neither will I. And somewhere across the city, Adrian stared out of his penthouse window, the memory of the baby's tiny hand gripping his finger haunting him in the best possible way. He had always believed fate was something you made with contracts and ambition. But now, he wondered if fate had come in the form of a text message sent by mistake, and a baby who had already stolen his heart.